your open up, let me just show you because I guess this is going to be new. All right, so I'm going to go to terminal. So okay. Where is this? Where is that? Oh, here it is. Okay, cool. Sorry. Let's do this. So go to your week 3 directory and like make a directory and call it like, I don't know, Ruby stuff or whatever you want to call it. CD into that. All right, so let's go ahead and open this up in code. I'm going to, in VS Code, I'm just going to open up my terminal here so I don't have to be switching screens. We will be using like the terminal to run our code. So I'm just going to have a terminal here. While we're here, let's do a little terminal stuff. Let's go ahead and create a file. So I want to see what directory I'm in. So I do print working directory or PWD. So I'm in, here's the absolute path to where I'm currently at in terminal, which is this Ruby demo folder. I want to create a file inside of here just called demo.rb. So this is going to be a Ruby file, Ruby files, and then the extension .rb. Cool. If I wanted to delete that file, I would do a rm for remove and then give it the name of the file. Then you can see that is deleted. Let's go ahead and touch that again. Let's say I wanted to, inside of here, I wanted to make a directory. Let's call this yo. So I make a dir yo. So now I have a yo directory inside of here. If I wanted to copy this demo.rb, let's come in here and make a change, just like, hello. If I wanted to copy this demo.rb into this yo folder, I would do cp for copy, then the name of the file I want to copy, that's demo.rb, and then where I want to copy it to. So I want to go to yo, and then I can give it a name. So I might do like demo.copy.rb. So now if I look inside of here, I have a copy of that file. If I wanted to rename this file, I could do or move it. I could do the md command, demo.rb. And then I can give it like a new name. So now that file name has been changed. I could open this up in, so now I have this change file. You know, I could use terminal to edit this. I could open this file up in what's called Vim, give it the name of the file. There is the file. So now I'm in Vim. Now I'm in a text editor within my terminal. So with Vim, I can hit I to go into insert mode. Now I can start typing. All right, I made a change. I can now get out of insert mode by hitting escape. Oh, let me do it. Uh-oh, I'm stuck. Why is escape not working? That's not good. I'm stuck in. I'm now stuck in here. Why is my escape not working? Oh crap, I did not mean to do that. VS Code not like that? Let me do it in the terminal. I'm going to do vim change.rb. I did not mean to do that back quote. I should hit it again. Okay. So vim changed.rb. I don't know why that escape didn't work in VS Code. So I can insert mode. Changing. Why does it think this is a read-only file? Okay. That's probably why it's not letting me. I'm not sure why this is not letting me edit this. Good old-fashioned just. I can see those files there. I'm going to remove these. All right, let's try this. I'm going to CD back into that file. CD into Ruby demo. Let's try this. I'm going to touch a new file, yo.rb. Let me try doing vi, maybe vi yo.rb. Hit in I for insert mode. Hello, hit escape. I do not know why it's not letting me get out of escape mode.
I'm stuck in it too.
What the hell's going on here? Okay, so I'm going to Google how to get out of Vim. If you are in edit mode, first press the escape key. Something changed. I mean, let me just show you like how to exit and press the escape key. Make sure you're using.
Would it help just to shut everything down and restart it?
I mean, I could, yeah, quit. It's really weird. Is everyone else having this problem? See, Michael's, you said you were.
Yeah, I'm having the same problem.
My like insert thing went away after I pressed escape, but I'm kind of still stuck in it.
Yeah, so. Yes, let me get like Ruby. Hmm. Found the swap file. Oh, maybe I need to do the E, swap file E. So yeah, it's not letting me get out of insert mode. Because I should be, so what I should, when I hit escape, this insert should change to a colon, and then I can type down there like WQ. When I hit escape, it's not changing that to like a different mode. Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Press escape. It's like something touch o.rb.
Is it :X? Or escape :X?
Escape :X. No, because like I'm in insert, like I can't,
Oh.
like, so right now I'm in insert mode.
Yeah, I just remember doing :X when I was in Vim before. I think it was.
:X.
Yeah, but like escape :X or command Q :X.
Yeah, so what should happen is I should hit escape, and that should change this insert mode. It's not change, like it should change this insert down there to like a colon. So instead of seeing insert, I should see a colon down here. And then I could do like right quit, and then that would quit it. So like, I don't know, escape is not exiting insert mode. Well, I don't. Wait, Control C. Oh my gosh, Control C. All right, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I'm not very good with Vim, if you can't tell. Okay.
Okay, my dear, let's do this again.
All right, so let's go ahead. Sorry, I'm just going to skip that part with Vim. You should be able to, as this says, you should be able to, as this says, go hit escape. Then you get into that mode, and then you can hit like WQ to quit, colon right quit to save, or Q bang to quit and not save. So, okay, anyway. Fell on my part right there. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why all these files are getting. There's something weird with like these files that are getting created. So what does the dot mean in these files?
They're hidden.
They're hidden. So if I do like an ls to list the content directories of this folder, I can't see them. If I do an ls-la, that will show the hidden files. I could remove those, rm dot no rm dot yo rm dot cool. I'm also going to rm my yo.rb, just to keep this clean. If I wanted to remove a directory, I do a -r. And then I can delete a directory. Now that directory's gone. I'm just gonna try this one more time. This is like so annoying. See, type, why won't you let me even, it won't even let me type Q. Oh, there we go, Q, bang. So escape's not working, but if I do Control C and then Command colon, that puts me into that mode I'm talking about. So now I can do right quit. And there's the changes. I'm not sure why the escape's not working. I can do Control C, then do Shift colon, and now I get that prompt, right quit. And it's changing the file. Okay. So let's, there's a horrible Vim review. People use Vim as their text editor. Like, it's more like more senior devs who have been coding for a while. They love it. I hate it. So
Yeah, why would you ever want to use that over like VS Code?
you know, it is, if you, it's a really high learning curve. If you get really good with it, it's like super hotkey friendly. So like, I guess you can like get really efficient with it. I feel like you can do that with VS Code though. I feel like VS Code's like a pretty good balance. The other reason why sometimes it can, people like get good with it is sometimes, and I think this is less common, sometimes you're like remoting into a different computer. So you actually can't open up VS Code. You like, because you're logging into another computer through the terminal. So you have to use Vim. But
I see.
other people, you know how computer people are. They're just, you get those computer people who are like really, they love like the like very low level stuff, and Vim is very low level. So that just, for some people love it, and it is you can get good with it. You can become very efficient with it. But I remember I tried to do it for like, when I went to DPL, I was like trying to do it coding for like a week. It was like such a bad decision. It slowed me down so much.
Sounds like torture. I can't imagine that.
Yeah. Because like you can't, like when you're in Vim, I'm in insert mode. Like I can't use my cursor. If you have to like use like key commands to like move your mouse around. I can't like go in and like highlight stuff. I guess I can copy and paste, but I can't like put my cursor where I want it to go. I hate that. But anyway. Cool. So let's first talk. Okay, so we're in a Ruby file. Yeah, and we're talking about a different language here. So Ruby was written by I forget his name. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It was someone from, I believe, Japan, wrote Ruby. I think it's kind of interesting how some of these languages, it's just like some person wrote it and now it's like a huge thing. Obviously now like it's probably maintained by like a big team, but it's just kind of interesting that like one person's like, oh, I'm going to write my own language, my programming language. And, you know, when he did it, he wanted to do it in like a way that was, you know, really coder friendly and really like readable. Like that was one of the bigger things he did. So let's go through and let's kind of just talk about, you know, Ruby, and also just do a review of coding concepts. So like we learned about in JavaScript, we have variables. And you know, let's also create, so I want to rename this file. Just going to rename it demo.rb. Oh, sorry, move. Cool. I just delete that. Okay, whatever. No more. So let's do a demo.rb and let's do a demo.js. So we can maybe compare and contrast some of these things. So let's go to variables. Like in JavaScript, Ruby's going to have variables. So how do you do variables in Ruby? There you go. There's a variable in Ruby. If I want to see that, I can do a puts message. So like in JavaScript, and let me just show you the JavaScript way of doing this. So we can like compare and contrast. I can like split this by moving. Come on, go right there. Sweet. So now we can see kind of the comparison. .log. So we have comments in Ruby. Comments in Ruby use a pound. In JavaScript, they use backslash. We have variables. With Ruby, we don't use a keyword in front of it. We just says, you know, x equal 1. In JavaScript, we, you know, have the let x equal 1. And we can puts x or we can console.log x. These are doing like the exact same thing. So to run our JavaScript one, remember we do like a node and then the name of the file. And then for our Ruby one, we use this, our Ruby tool, CLI. There we go. Now these are more similar than they are different, right? So far, there is definitely some like little syntax difference, but you know, we both have variables. We both can like puts them to the console. You know, with Ruby, we can use, we can see the type of stuff. So let's do Ruby types. To see the type of Ruby, everything in Ruby is a class. So I could do x dot class. And, you know, JavaScript, I could do type of x. So a little different there. Like, you know, I have this x, which is equal to 1. I can do like x dot class. That is a number. You know, this is a integer, and in Ruby, it's a integer. Okay, so let's look at this. I can do a puts .1 dot class. Run that. All right, so that's a float. If I do a console.log type of 1.1, that's going to be a number. So in Ruby, there's a distinction. Well, let's see how this might matter. Let's do puts 3 divided by 2. What is 3 divided by 2? Come on now.
1.5.
Integer.
Yeah, well, I heard integer and 1.5. So, I mean, I would say, this is 1.5, right? That makes sense, but let's kind of look at it because it's not, but let's do this in JavaScript. So why this matters, why this is important. So if I do this in, JavaScript, 3 divided by 2, that's 1.5. If I do this in Ruby, that's 1. Okay. Because yeah, hey, this is the integer 3 divided by 2. So Ruby is just assuming, you want an integer from this division because you're dividing 2 integers. So it's just going to chop off any decimal. So let's make one of those a float. And there we got 1.5. I'm actually curious. I don't know if Ruby does this right. I forget what it is. 0.2 plus 0.1. 0.3, right? Like a 0 here. There you go. That makes a lot of sense, right? Let's do this in JavaScript. Why is point in both languages 0.2 plus 0.1 is not 0.3? Has anyone seen this before? Are your minds blown right now?
I was writing notes. What did you ask?
What?
I was writing notes. Yeah.
Yeah, 0.2 plus 0.1. What is 0.2 plus 0.1?
0.3.
Yeah, not in Ruby or JavaScript. It's 0.3000004.
Oh, it's repeating.
It's not repeating. It's going to that level of precision. Like,
Well, then I don't know.
But still, it doesn't really make sense. It's not precise.
yeah, if I do like 0.2 plus 0.2, why isn't that? Oh, I ran to JavaScript one. That's 0.4. That makes sense. That one does not make sense. So, so why do both languages do that? Well, under the hood, like, the math is done with binary. And I forget which one it is, if it's 0.2 or 0.1 or like something about this. It's like, or if it's 0.3, you can't like write that as a whole number in binary. So you can't, it translate a little differently. You can't, because when you do 0.2 plus 0.1 in binary, you don't get like a nice, neat number. You get like a repeating number, or like an irrational number or something.
Is it just because it's odd?
No, it's just, it's like you can't, I forget like exactly, it's like you can't represent one of these numbers in binary, like as a whole number. Like it's a irrational number or it's a repeating number. So, and there's a couple other like weird edge cases like that where you get that. So if you want to be really, really precise with stuff, be careful when you're adding decimals. Okay.
Is there a way to tell it you only want, so many number places to be displayed?
Yeah, that'd be a way you could do it, or you could write. There's definitely libraries that will handle this for you if like you're working with decimal numbers. So
Wait, so since you're not doing like console.log, is anything you write just gonna go straight to the console?
I'm doing puts.
Okay, is that like the same?
Yeah, puts is like that puts something to the console. So
Okay. I
So-
thought that makes sense.
so we're gonna see. So why I'm kind of doing these side by side is like, okay, here are the similarities, here are the differences. Let's do some more things. Let's do a puts. Class, what do you think that is? That's everything's gonna have a string. We would have, puts. Let's do like an array dot class. That's in an array. So we have a little difference with the numbers, but we have arrays, we have strings. I mean, they like break this up into, true class, but really, let's just say, we have Booleans. Let's say like this true, false class, i.e. these are just, we still have Booleans. We have puts. Let's see if this one works right off the bat. Okay, so this one I actually need to store to a variable and then call the class method on it. What is this in JavaScript?
Object.
Yeah, it's an object in JavaScript. Let. I'm not in. So undefined method let. I'm trying to use let in Ruby. Doesn't work. This is what's called a hash. But it's like an object. You'll hear the term in Ruby. In Ruby, everything is an object. This is not like to be confused with the this is not like the JavaScript object. In Ruby, it's called a hash, but Ruby will say everything in Ruby is an object because Ruby is an object-oriented programming language. So is JavaScript, but JavaScript has its own type called object. In Ruby, everything's an object. Like something that's pretty unique to Ruby, you can call methods on like a number. Like I can do one.class. That's like where I do it right here, 1.1.class. That's pretty weird to be able to call a method on like a number. Ruby does it because everything's an object. Questions with this?
Probably.
Probably. So we have data types in Ruby, very similar to JavaScript data types. Just there's these little differences. Like it's not an object, it's called a hash. It's not technically a Boolean, it's the true and false class, but they are Booleans.
So
Um,
rather than saying everything in Ruby is an object, should we say it's a hash? Since you said that the object is hash?
When I talk about objects in Ruby and when I talk about objects in JavaScript, they're two different things.
Okay.
Object becomes like an overload. There's so many words in coding that are like overloaded words. So if I'm talking about objects in Ruby, don't get those confused with objects in JavaScript.
Okay.
So, and even with things like, you know, I could say a hash is somewhat comparable to an object in JavaScript, but they're not. They're similar, but they're kind of different. But they're kind of like key value pair stores. So that's where it's like they're similar, but there are going to be differences. Just kind of like with numbers, like we're going to have ways to do numbers in programming languages. In JavaScript, we have one kind of data type that works. It's a number. With Ruby, there's like integers and floats. So they make it the distinction between those two. Okay. Let's see here. Actually, I want to do something. I had like a okay. Let's just keep going. So let's go more with variables. So with variables, there's once again there's some differences. So vars. I'm going to comment all this out so we don't put all this stuff out. So we have what's called, you know, with variables in Ruby, scoping is more important. So let's look at a different couple things with Ruby. So I could have like, you know, local, I'm just going to call this local var equals 1. And with Ruby, it's convention to use snake case. I can have something in Ruby called a instance variable. Let's just say, let's just have these be strings. I am a local var. This one's going to say I am a instance var $. I am a class, or I'm a global var. So a local variable, just as we just give it a name, I'm a local variable. If it starts with an @ sign, that's going to make it a instance variable. We'll kind of look at what an instance variable is. If we give it a $sign in front of it, it's a global variable. If the first letter is capitalized, it's going to be a constant. Say this starts with @ sign, starts with $sign. I'm just going to say, never use these. as a general rule.
Is there a reason why there's double quotes on the PI then, if I missed that?
Oh, no.
Okay, so it doesn't matter whether it's single quotes or double quotes?
We'll see in 1 second, there is a difference,
Okay.
but I start with and yeah, I guess for now I can just make those single quotes just so there's that straightforward. I start with a capital letter. I should just say constants. Now, somewhat similar to JavaScript, we have variables and we have constants. But now with JavaScript, we didn't really talk about it. There is, like, you can scope a variable to like a block. I don't even want to get into that, but let's just look at this right here. Like, what are these different kinds of variable types? So let's just do this. Let's first of all just do pi equals yo. So here we get a warning, right? What happens in JavaScript if we do this? So I'm trying to reassign pi. It lets me do it, but it gives me a warning.
In JavaScript, I think it just crashes.
If I do it in JavaScript, const pi equals dot whatever, and say pi equals 1, 2, 3. This is so a little difference between how they like handle that. They both have constants. Ruby's going to let you do it, but it's going to give you a warning. JavaScript breaks. Cool. So there's constants. Let's look at scope. But really, to look at scope, we need to see functions. So we'll get back to the scope because we really need to illustrate it. We need to kind of go into functions. So with functions in Ruby, we use the def, method name, end. That's how you do a function in Ruby or a method. So say hi. Puts hi. So like in JavaScript, we define our function and then we call it. But unlike JavaScript, so let's do this in JavaScript, const, say hi is a function, log hi. If I say hi, and then say hi, what's going to be the difference between these two in JavaScript?
Equal.
The first one won't do anything.
Yeah, this does not do anything. Is not called IE. And this one logs hi. Okay, so we do node demo.js. Yeah, we see we only log one hi. In Ruby, let's do the Ruby. That one logs hi. So this one calls the function. This one also calls the function. So that's a difference. It's a pretty big difference, actually. Okay. So let's go talk about the scope thing. Test scope. So I have these 4 variables. So let's put local var. Let's put instance var, and let's put global. Oh, I need to rename this to global var. Global var. So here's my function definition. Now I need to call it. Don't need the parentheses because we'll just call it. Line 44, undefined local variable, local var. This is a error. This is local var is not scoped, you know, inside functions. Okay. My instance variable and my global variables are. So my instance variable is going to be visible anywhere in the file. So anywhere in the file, you know, this would be demo.rb. Global variables are going to be visible anywhere in the project. Now, I'll say this general rule. Never use these. Why would I, any ideas on why I would say never use these? This is a little more, but say
Are you saying never use these on the global var or the global and instance, or
never use global variables?
okay?
Like never, you don't, you know, it might be like tempting. Oh, I want this variable to be visible everywhere. Like in my project, in like my Rails project, because you know, you have so many files, you have so many folders. I just want this to be visible everywhere, so I can use it anywhere in my app. Sounds like a cool feature.
Wouldn't, when it gets called somewhere, get called somewhere else?
So it'd be, yeah, I could call it anywhere. Like,
It's more like if you change it in one place, you change it everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, so if you were to call a function in one file, wouldn't it call it in the other files?
yeah, but that could be good. That could be like, oh man, like define the thing once and then use it everywhere. But the reason why a global variables, because that's not bad, you know, we want to maybe define like something once and then use it everywhere. That can be good. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is with global variables is, let's say I think I have something, and you know, let's just say like I have like a color global variable. Like I want this to be red. And you know, this is defined globally, and now I have this color global variable. And now everywhere I use this variable, it's red, and that's perfect because I always want that to be there. But then some other person, you know, decides that for whatever reason, they want to do the same thing. They want to come in and do a color because they're doing something with that, and then they like for something completely different. And now they created a global variable called color. Well, this is where you get into like naming conflicts and, you know, overriding stuff. So you know, it can be, it can kind of be, that's why it's bad. You can kind of like overwrite stuff. You can create variables in global scope that have the same name. So that's why you don't want to use those. Because I don't know if you're starting to notice with like React and coding how often you use the same name with stuff. And then like the scoping's there to kind of help you like, oh, I can reuse this name because they're two different things. Like, you know, when I'm showing you in React and there's like, I'm saying, okay, you have this links variable here, and then you have this links thing here. They're not the same. That's kind of nice because you can reuse that word. With global variables, once I say something like, once I use it, like I can't reuse that word. And that can kind of seem like a good idea at the time, but then it's bad. It won't, it can get bad.
It's similar to const then, right? Because once you say const and define that, that's
Yeah, well, because it's not this like, because we would want to like with something like pi, I would want to make that into a constant, you know, 3.14. But what I'd want to do is I would just want to like export this. And I did a similar thing in Ruby where I have a variable. I want to reuse the variable. I don't want to always hard code 3.14, but I'm going to export it from a particular file. And then I can always import it from that file.
and then you can always reuse pi, I guess. It's not.
Yeah, so I can reuse this variable, and I want to go change it. I can go change it in one spot. And then, you know, someone else could go in a different file, you know, have a different pi. Because maybe their pi version is more like detailed. But they call it also, but where you get protected from this is, I'm going to say which file I'm importing that from. So import pi from file 1, import pi from file 2. And then those are going to like, they're the same, they're not global variables. Those are two different variables. If I tried to import them in the same file, then I would get a naming conflict, but then I would see my naming conflict and I could like rename it. So yeah. But now those are two different, even though they would have the same name, they're not like, they're two different variables. You know, I can't like, if in JavaScript, if I made, I mean, this doesn't make them global, but if I did like, put the global sign in, now there's like, oh, now it's like, well, which is which? These are not this, like, I'm getting into a naming conflict. So that's
You
why.
can use Ruby in the JavaScript file and it will still count it as Ruby.
No, this is, I mean, that's not valid.
Okay. Maybe it should be valid.
I was just trying to show, like, let's say this was Ruby, I'm doing something like this. It's not valid. This is like combining the two languages, which is not valid. I'm trying to say like, once, like, I mean, if I were to put this in my Ruby file to make it valid. Like now I have an issue because now I have two globally scoped variables with the same name. And yeah, it's good. That's bad. If I had two different variables like pi, those are now going to be scoped to the file. So if these are in different files, that's fine. They're two different things. So if that's confusing, it's a pretty simple rule. Just never use global variables unless you know what you're doing. Okay. So yeah, we see, so then when we run a function, we can see our instance variable is accessible within the function, and so is the global variable. So and we're going to see with Rails when we'd want to use an instance variable, we want to like share this variable across all of our methods. Cool. So let's say I do have a local variable and I want to define, like I want to use it in a function. How do I do that? Right, because I can't do this. That was my, I need to call it. So I have this function called puts local variable, and I want to put it there. How do I make this work? Oh, I have to do like a puts.
And didn't it still give you the error?
Yeah, I'm getting an error. Local variables undefined.
Oh, I thought you defined it up above.
It is defined.
So why isn't it, if you put the puts, why isn't it?
Because it's Ruby, it's not scope, like it's scope. This is not, this is the scoping thing. Local variables, I can, and let me just like,
Is it only scope to itself?
it's scoped to like the file, like I can, let's local, let me just put it right here so we can like see this.
It's like on the top level, right? But if you put it inside a function, the
Yeah,
function,
you can't.
the function can't read it.
Yeah. So I can put it here.
You can't nest it in anything.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm failing right before. Okay, I'm gonna put it right there. Yeah. We should need to define that before. Okay. So I can use it. There's my IAMLocalVar1. I'm putting it right there. But then I try to call the function and it's undefined in the function. So it's not scoped. So how would I fix this? So I could put it inside of here.
It would have to be an instance variable, right?
Well, if I make it an instance variable, let's do that. That works, but now this is no longer a instance variable. So, sorry, it's no longer a local variable. Let's say, I think that's one way. That is one way to do it. But then I'm changing it from a local variable to an instance variable. What if I want to keep it a local variable? How do I get this to work?
Is it something like local variable or something?
What can I do with functions? It's more like,
Or you can pass it a parameter.
yes, I pass it a parameter. So I can pass it to the function. Now my function can have a parameter. If I want to have, if I have a local variable and I want to use it in a function and I want to keep it a local variable, I can pass it as a argument.
I think just since you're naming them so similarly, both the function and the variable, that was confusing.
Yep.
But it's like a total dumb moment now.
This is the same in JavaScript. I'm calling this, let's just call this foo. Let's go like very. This is, and what I'm saying here is going to be true for JavaScript. Like, I have a variable called foo, and then I have a method that is called puts local variable. It has a parameter called foo, and it puts it. Let's play this game. What foos are which foos? Like, are they all the same? Which ones are the same? Which ones are which are which?
The ones in parentheses are together, right?
The ones in parentheses, these two?
Oh, wait, no.
Line 55 is the only one that's different.
And
Yeah.
55.
That,
So
wait, the bottom parenthesis is referencing the top foo, right?
yes, this foo is referencing this foo. So I could change this. So if I change this name
Yeah,
to
okay.
X, I need to change this name to X. If I change this name to Y, I need to change that name to Y. What else could I put inside of this function on line 59? If I don't want to put X, what could I throw inside of here? Anything, you know, this is me calling the function. I can pass my function anything. And it's just going to puts whatever I passed it, it's just going to puts it out. Let's pass in an array. If it doesn't, I can use P to like actually show that. That might show it. So in Ruby, there's a puts, there's also a P, which will show like, if it's a little more specific, it'll like show what kind of data type it is. So I have a variable called X. I can pass my, what is X?
The string.
Yeah, what string is it?
I am local var1.
Yeah, X is I am local var1. It's just like essentially like I plop in X, boom. That's what that's going to do. What is Y? Y is a parameter. Y is just going to become the thing you passed that when you called it. So if we go back to that foo example, I have a variable called foo. Foo is just, I am a local var1. It's also just made this more confusing.
Too much foo, man. Too much.
Too much foo. Is this going to work? Let's see. Yep. There you go. This foo, okay. What is this foo? Line 52.
That's a variable.
That's a variable that has a value. I am a local var1. What is this foo after the def?
A function.
That is the function name. What is this foo?
A parameter.
Yes.
Argument, yeah.
And then what is this foo?
Your parameter, your argument.
Yeah, that's this foo. So I'm kind of naming this parameter, and then inside of my function, I can use it.
Okay,
This foo right here, what is this foo?
That's the function.
that's function, yeah.
That's me. And then what is this foo?
The
Your,
one on top.
Yes.
your argument, yeah. Or yeah,
That's a mess.
oh my gosh.
Understand that, like I think that's like the best example ever.
I like the way we went through that.
Yeah, that was helpful.
Yeah, that was.
We should do that with more functions.
Let's do it. Let's do it in JavaScript. Let's call it bar. Let's set let bar equal 1. Const bar equals bar. Let's throw in 2. Let's do bam. Give that one. Okay, bar and bam. Let's do a console.log bar console.log bam return bar plus bam dot length. What is this going to do? First of all, what's bar right here?
1.
It's 1. What is this bar?
Function,
That's the function name. What is this bar right here?
parameter,
Parameter.
Yeah, what's this bam?
parameter.
Parameter.
Cool. So we're just going to log those. Then I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to return, right? Bar plus bam dot length. So when what am I doing right here?
It's your function.
Yeah, I'm calling the function. So this is my function definition. Here I'm calling the function. So there's that's and like you said, that's the function. What is bar right here?
1,
What you're passing.
Yeah, it's 1. So that's 1. What's bar right here?
1. Oh, it's bam.
No, this is still 1.
It's 1.
This is like the same as me doing this 1 and 1.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Bar is just 1. But
Even though it says bam there, it's still 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's just even more confusing. This actually, this might break in. This is probably going to break in Ruby in JavaScript. Yeah, bar's already been defined. Let me try writing this as a, because I'm now doing this. So let's first look at this error before I just erase this. So this one's not letting me do it because I'm redeclaring a variable. So I can't write it like this. Let's see if I can write it like this, a function bar. So I'm going to write it not as a variable, but as a function. Nope. Okay. Looks like JavaScript doesn't let me do this. So I'll call this bar F. All right. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. So that works. So I guess, Ruby lets me use that same name because it can like distinguish. JavaScript won't. So JavaScript, it's not going to let me change that. it's going to not let me reuse that name for variables and functions, which is probably smart. So I just renamed that to barf. So let's go back. Let's look at this line when I call barf. So I'm calling my function. I mean, that's appropriate word for this function because it is like, whoa, what's going on here? I'm passing it 1 and 1. What is this going to do? Any guesses on what this is going to log?
Two.
Well, it's expecting a BAM, but BAM hasn't been defined. So maybe like a 1 and then an undefined or something.
Okay, that's a guess. So BAM is undefined. So you're saying, here's another way you could ask, I could ask this question. What do you expect these logs to be? Because we're logging them. So someone said, I think you said this is going to be undefined. Right? Maybe. What do you think bar is going to be?
Just one.
1. Let me put a question mark there. So, and like, yeah, so then this is going to be, what is this going to be when I run this? That's going to be 1 plus.
Plus the nothing though, because you haven't defined it, right?
Undefined is actually, it is a thing in JavaScript, undefined. That's actually a thing. But what happens if I call .length on undefined? That's an error. So maybe I would expect this to be an error, right? If BAM is undefined, I would expect that to be an error.
Right.
So let's run it. Trying to see what's going on here. Okay. Node demo.js. I'm going to make sure I save this too. And I call that BAM. So switch that back. Node demo.js. Wait, this is nan. That's not an error. And then it looks like when I log this, and let's throw in to make this so we can see it. Bar is that BAM is that.
They're both gonna be 1, right?
They're both going to be 1 is what we're getting at here. So bar is 1 and BAM is 1. Because when I call the function bar is 1 and bar, like I'm calling it like this, 1 and 1.
Yeah.
So this becomes, for this particular Carl, this bar becomes 1 and this BAM becomes 1. So why is this nan? Well, what's 1? I'm doing 1 dot length.
Dot length is, it's not related to numbers, right? You usually use that for arrays or
An
strings.
array.
I am not, yeah, because I'm kind of surprised this
The
is.
number doesn't have a length, right?
Yeah, but if you remove the length, the dot length, it should be 2.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised because I can't, like, why is this coming back as nan? I'm a little surprised why this is not breaking.
Well, to me, it sort of looks like JavaScript would expect that you want a number, but it can't give you a number. So it's not a number instead of undefined.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, I'm a little surprised I'm getting nan back. I don't know why, like, because BAM right now is undefined because I'm logging BAM.length. If I do 1 plus undefined.length, like I get an error. So, oh, if I do, it's just undefined. If I do 1 plus undefined.
Is it because you already have one number?
I think it's just evaluating this as undefined. So if I do 1 plus undefined, that's just undefined. So that's my nan. That's my nan. Cool. So that's what I'm getting.
But nan and undefined are different technically, aren't they?
Yes, they are different. But if I do undefined plus 1, that's not a number. Cool. So what if I do this? What is bar going to be?
4
4. Yeah,
or 3
it's going to be 4
because okay, yeah, 4.
because bar is
Maybe because
1.
it's 0 index.
Yeah. And then I pass it in an array that has 3 things in it. 1, 2, 3. I mean, they don't A, B. What's bar going to be now? I added 6. Yeah.
Six.
Yeah, I added 2 things. Is that what about if I do it this way? 1, 2, 3. Bar. What is bar?
3.
That one's not gonna work.
Yeah, I kind of like I don't know what this is gonna be. Like something weird.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when we call the functions, it's all about the order we're passing our arguments. In our function definition, I'm just creating these parameters. And I'm just saying, hey, I'm defining this function called barf. This first thing, since I'm doing an add, I'm just going to expect this to be a number. And the second thing, since I'm calling bam.length, I'm expecting this to be something that has dot length on it. Does it have to be in an array? What else could I mean, this is a weird, just to get more just like weird on this. What else could I pass this where this could work? Like that syntax would work.
Just a string, like a string.
Well, yeah, a string would work. Because a string has a dot length property, so string works. Maybe BAM's a string. What about a object with a length property? So just as long as this, whatever this BAM thing is, has a dot length, and that thing is a number. But yeah, if I pass it something, that doesn't have a number, like I pass it a Boolean, like I don't know what this is going to be. There's my nan. So did that just like connect so much stuff about functions? It's not really Ruby or JavaScript. It's your function definitions, variables, passing parameters, et cetera, et cetera. Was that a good little?
Definitely helped a lot.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's kind of nice to go side by side with these because you're going to see there's a lot of these similar. I think there's more similarities. There are these key like minute differences that do take some time to, and definitely can cause a little confusion. But I think it's going to be more similar than different. But let's take a break. I'll stick around for a second if there's any questions on this, but let's come back at, just call it 11:20.
Sounds good.
If there's no questions, I'm gonna hop off and hop back on just so I can start the Zoom processing of this video.
So this side had fallen out of the wire and had come out of the back bracket.